Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm going to bring this meeting to order, the Board of Supervisors meeting for May 19th. If everyone could please stand and pledge the flag.
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Thank you very much. I just want to make a couple of announcements about some executive sessions that we had. We had on May 15th. It was one meeting and we hit a few subjects, matter of potential litigation and specific the Pot House Kimberton CUA, a matter of potential litigation and specific the Butterscotch Cafe CUA, matters of personnel and specific police arbitration and a potential disciplinary action, and a matter of personnel and specific non-uniform employee job responsibilities. And then tonight before this meeting, we just had another executive session, which was a matter of personnel and specific regarding police. With that, I also wanted to just make a quick mention to everyone. You hopefully saw your newsletters in the mail. If you didn't get a newsletter, please let us know so we can make sure that we do get you on our list. I'm very excited to see. Thank you, Tommy, for getting those communications out to people again. If anyone missed the bridge celebration, our bridge turned, Cedar Hall Bridge turned 175. And we had a lovely celebration this weekend. And there's some commemorative magnets and some information on the table out there. Feel free to take that. And the video of the speeches is on the website. So it was very interesting if anyone would like to look at that. And one more thing for Julia, I promised her I would let everybody know, and I'll try and remind you at the end as well, that we do have to clean up afterwards to get ready for the election tomorrow. So if anyone's able and willing to stay and help move some chairs and things, we'd be much appreciated. So let's move on. And I did want to mention also that this meeting is being recorded for a rebroadcast. So we do have Sergeant Russell, who's in the back of the room here. If you could please come up and give us your report, that'd be wonderful. Right there.
Hello, this is the police report for April 2025. For training, we had Cody Connect. Summary totals are number of calls for service 134, number of crimes investigated 5, number of arrests 1 for forgery, altering writing, retail theft, receiving stolen property, theft by deception, and false impers. Number of traffic stops 5, number of accidents investigated 3. That's all.
Sergeant.
Thank you.
Yes, certainly. Would you like to come up, please, and state your name for the record?
Jamie McVicker, just curious about why there's such a huge drop off from last year to this year. I don't know what a business check is, but traffic stops from 79 to 5. Just curious.
Yeah, we are down personnel. About 5 positions down at this point.
We're understaffed by 5.
We are definitely understaffed, but please don't spread the word that we didn't do a good job of being out there stopping people.
Good thing this isn't being recorded.
I think it's a good time to speed in our town, but no, we're trying to work on that.
What are business stops? Or business checks?
Business check is when you perform a check on a business.
Oh, like go to check out, like.
Yeah, there's different ones, like say I walk in the bottle, I check inside the door, I check the outside of the store, just make sure everything's okay. The business is closed, maybe I'm around there late at night, just checking the doors, checking outside, making sure that there's suspicious vehicles or people in the area, stuff like that.
Is some of that at their request or just
Yes,
a normal?
Mhm.
Thank you. Anyone
ask the officers to do that on patrol, especially later at night.
Does anyone else have a question for Sergeant? Thank you very much. Appreciate it. And was Jeff Kimes? There you are. Okay. Jeff Kimes from Fire Company, and it's going to give us our fire and EMS report from Ludwig's. Kimes.
Hey, good evening, everyone. The Lowish Corner Fire Company report for April 2025. West Vincent Township, we had one auto accident, two automatic alarms, two trees and wires. We had one CO alarm, one chimney fire, one gas leak inside, and we had 15 medical calls in nature. Upper Yukon, we had 18 calls. East Napa, we had 9 calls, and then we had 8 calls assist for mutual aid. Our total calls for the month were 59. Our total time in service was 28 hours and 27 minutes. And our total man hours was 101 hours and 21 minutes. We averaged a total of about 6 responders per fire call and averaged about 2 volunteer QRS responders for EMS calls. Also, our training hours were 602 for the month.
Thank you.
The only thing the fire company just wanted to mention was a couple months ago, the township was discussing about the paving projects and I guess discussing about what roads would be priority in the township. Lowish Corner Fire Company would support the pavement of St. Andrews Lane. That is a road that we've never really used. We always take Route 100 just because the road is very haphazard. It's very hard on our equipment. But if that was one that if there is a priority that the township has, the fire company would support the pavement of that road then for our response times. So,
Thank you.
thank you.
Anyone else have a question? And then I don't know if anyone else is here from Pemberton or Euclid at all, but we do have reports. Did you want to? I'm not sure. Thank you. I'm glad to see you.
The fire company responded to 6 calls in West Vincent Township. 1 chimney fire, 1 medical assist, 1 gas leak, 1 dispatch canceled en route, and 1 automatic alarm malfunction. The fire department responded to a total of 38 calls, 8 Charlestown, 13 East Pikeland, 3 East Vincent, 1 East Whiteland, 2 Phoenixville, 1 Schuylkill, 1 Tredyffrin, and 1 Upper Providence, and also 2 in West Pikeland. We did training with West End Ambulance and also the Fire Marshal's Office. Thank you.
Thank you. Would you mind stating your name just for?
Jay Bollinger.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much. And you guys have been way too busy lately,
Yeah.
but thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Next up on reports, we have the finance department, which is basically as stated on the website. If anyone has any questions about that, please let me know. Not? You're?
Your finance report is basically as stated on the website.
That's correct.
Well, you could put the police department, fire department, everything on the website. I mean,
Yeah.
and it's interesting though, year to date, it shows a loss of $10,000. But the other interesting thing is that for the first time in my memory, the financial reports were not listed under the financial reports section on your website. They are listed, and I talked to Tommy about that. They're listed apparently now only under the board agenda, the board minutes, or the board schedule. And I think we didn't talk
You
about
mean they're with the board packet? Is
the
that
board
what you
packet.
mean?
It's the only place it shows.
Which is more convenient for some. I mean, we can.
I don't know if it's
discuss
more
that.
convenient, but on the financial section,
Mhm.
you have a section with audits, you have a section of budgets, you have a section of monthly and annual financial statements, and it is handy to have them all together. I mean, instead of going through board packets to find stuff, it's just sort of a difficult way to run business, I think. I noticed in capital expenditures, we bought a truck for $68,000. And the Betty on the truck is 74,000. It seems like a strange thing. Tommy said he would get me the invoice for that. I called EM Kurtz and they said, well, they run from 12 to 20,000. So 74,000 seems pretty far out of the range. And then again, I noticed on the open space where we're paid that $70,000 for the walkway, and which I question to him, is it credible to use open space money to do paving on a walkway that's on somebody else's property, I guess. So,
Are you talking about the Fellowship Trail?
pardon,
You're
Friendship
talking
Trail,
about Fellowship Trail.
from Friendship Trail down to here. It's sort of a short space for, well, that was, and it says in your notes that the trail's not finished. But I think one time we paid 30,000 just for the engineering on the trail. So the cost of that trail is sort of mounting up higher and higher.
Well, I believe we have about $350,000 or so that's going to need to be met by the township to complete that trail.
That way,
The total that the township is going to have to pay for that trail is somewhere in the range of $350,000.
well, how long do you think that trail is? 1,000 feet or whatever?
No, I'm aware. I don't know exactly what the dimensions are, but I am aware of the project. We've been talking about it for probably 10, 15 years in this township, and it's finally getting completed. But there is a grant, but it does not pay the whole thing, so just letting you know, because you're going to continue to see that until it's completed, okay? And John, did you give your name when you came up? Did you catch?
I did.
Okay,
Oh,
great.
yeah.
Thank you very much. We did get it. Thank you,
All
John.
right.
I'm just trying to keep Tommy up to speed here since he's doing the notes. Does anyone else have any comments regarding the financials?
I guess this is related. How's the treasurer search going?
I'm sorry.
The search for the treasurer, George Saltrinos?
Yes, we've made a conditional offer to an employee and to a candidate, and they're doing background checks.
So they accepted pending background checks, I guess?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? No, seeing none. Move on to Public Works Department. There's also a report on the website for that. Has anyone had any questions on it they would like to bring up? No, seeing none. And our last report was on the Building and Zoning Department, which again there is information on our website regarding that. He's our zoning officer. Does anyone have any questions? We move on then. Moving on to our action items, we do need a motion for approving our minutes. Would someone like to make that?
I'll make a motion to approve the April 30, 2025 meeting minutes as presented.
I'll second.
Anyone have any questions regarding the minutes from last meeting? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approved. The motion regarding the Pothouse Kimberton conditional use order.
I make a motion to approve conditional use order for Pot House Kimberton LLC as presented.
And I'll
If
second.
there's any questions.
Okay. Was that actually posted? Was that posted? That was not posted yet, right? So they don't.
Right.
They don't have the information on it. Is there anyone in the audience who had any questions regarding that verdict? Okay, seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And next we have ordinance 214-2025, which we're looking to present. I'd like to make a motion on that.
It says public hearing.
It's a hearing.
Mhm.
Yes, we have to have a discussion about that if you want to turn it over to me.
Absolutely. Go right ahead. You can have the next two.
That's fine. The first ordinance we're considering tonight is regarding the changes to the open burning regulations in the township that had to be refined as directed by DEP. So ordinance 214-2025 essentially does that, provides for open burning, but under certain circumstances only, and there are limitations on the materials you can burn, and it sets forth precautions with respect to an open burn, such as notifying the fire company how large of a pile of debris can be burned, where it can be, et cetera. So, and it also lays out penalties if someone were to violate the open burning ordinance. So with that, and this was posted, right? So we are, essentially required to have a hearing before the board considers adoption of the ordinance. So that would allow anyone who wishes to make a comment tonight or have any questions about the ordinance. Now's the time to do that, so we can get your comments on the record. Anyone have any thoughts or comments they'd like to come up about that?
And I just wanted to mention, this will put us in compliance with the 904 recycling grant.
Correct.
That was going to be my question. Could you just,
State your name.
George
We
Delchinos?
know who you are, but.
Yeah, I understand. So could you just elaborate on that? That was going to be my question. You said something about compliance with something.
Yeah, this is something that's been required of the DEP so that we can qualify for the 904 recycling grants.
Okay, so the purpose of this is to get our ordinance in line with the grant requirements. Correct.
Correct, yes.
And is this something, this is for future grants, or is this a grant that we have
It's,
in progress?
well, I don't know if grant's the right word.
It is.
I mean, it's a yearly,
Yeah, so DEP provides for municipalities an annual performance grant based on the amount of recyclables collected. And that grant is allocated annually. The condition is you have an ordinance that complies with state law. So
Okay.
until we bring our ordinance up to that standard, we do not get those grant dollars. We will moving forward.
And do you have an estimate on what kind of money?
well, actually I do, because we were talking to some consultants that we were considering coming in to help us with that, which we really probably don't need now since Tommy's pretty well versed in it. And that was the first thing they said, that, you know, we were ineligible because of this, which I think there were some conversations in the past with the township about this, that we knew that there was an issue. And we're probably leaving about $14,000 on the table
Annually.
now, because we're not able to receive
Okay.
that.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else have any other questions?
Hi, Jeff Kimes, the Deputy Fire Chief, Lowest Corner Fire Company. Thank you for updating the audience here. Just a couple of questions. Under section 184-1, open burning B, looks like it's B4. It says an outdoor bonfire utilized for ceremonial purposes, conditioned on approval of the volunteer fire company. I just have questions of how the township would like the fire company to proctor that. Is this going to be a permitting process? And if so, is there a time frame that can be attached to that? So somebody can't call up 5 minutes before and not give the fire company any chance to be able to investigate what they're doing. If we could put a 48 hours or a 24-hour clause in, would be helpful to the fire company. The other thing is under sections, looks like it's under section E. It only allows the police department and the zoning officer. In cases the police department is off duty and the zoning officer is not on duty, 3 o'clock in the morning, and the fire company is dealing with that, there's no enforcement power for the fire company to address this. Is there something that could be placed in the ordinance that will allow the fire chief of the jurisdiction to be able to enforce this provision in case the police department is not available?
Which section?
This would be under section E.
E?
E, where it says an officer of West Vincent Township Police Department and the West Vincent Township Zone Officer shall have the power to enforce this provision. It doesn't give any permission to the fire company or the fire chief to be able to enforce that.
Yeah, and I don't know whether under law, the fire chief can have that authority.
In the cases that the police department aren't on and there's no zoning officer, what would you recommend that the fire department do?
Emergency number. I guess we can look into that.
Yeah,
It's a 24/7.
yeah,
Yeah.
so the fire company would notify the police department. Burning going on.
But if we're there and there's somebody burning that's not supposed to be burning and we ask them to put it out, we don't have any authority to request them to put it out based on this ordinance. The police
Right.
department would have to be there to do that. But if they're not on, it kind of leaves the fire department in limbo.
Well, you could ask them to put it out and they refuse to, then you would call the police.
The state police, if West Vincent's not working,
Or the manager, who's our zoning officer.
That's why I'm asking the question, just so there's clarification, because we're going to be the ones probably dealing with this when those calls come in after hours. And just looking at this, just want to make sure that we're clear on what our responsibilities are.
Well, Tommy, you want to address how you want them to handle it?
You call our police if it's during the time that the state police are providing coverage to the township, the state police will be notified and respond in our place.
Okay. And there, again, there's no permitting process with this thing, correct? There's no permit that's being issued by the township with this.
No, we'll work with you in terms of how many, how much advance notice you need for this sort of thing.
All right. Thank you very much.
I appreciate that.
Thank you.
We'll take a look at that. Is there anyone else? Jamie?
Jamie McVicker. I'm confused by this. So I don't know anything about legal stuff. It just seems oddly written that in section 184-1B, am I reading it right that nobody should ever have a fire that's more than 3 feet wide? Unless it's for firefighting training, duty of a police officer, barbecue, ceremony, and permitted by right to farm laws. But just generally, anybody who has a burn pile like I do, which is the size of all those seats put together, well, maybe half that. I can't do that. I need to make it a 3-foot fire. Am I reading that correctly?
Open recreational fire possessing a total area of 3 feet or less. So with the recreational fire,
But what's recreational mean? Like, what if I'm just trying to get rid of tree branches and stuff that have fallen? That doesn't seem recreational. It seems
It's not permitted. Under DEP standards, that's not permitted.
okay.
You can't burn yard waste, rubbish. It's not permitted. Right now under code, you can do it. That's what DEP wants us to do.
So this is changing it from, I could have done that yesterday, but not tomorrow. This is
Correct.
okay. And then what seems odd to me is that then D further amends points 4 and 5 from B. Just seems like that should be under 4 and 5 in B, but whatever, you guys are the legal people. So if it is 3 feet, it still needs to be at least 50 feet from a building and from a property line, unless you get approval from your neighbor, be in a cleared area, blah, blah, blah. Am I reading that right?
with respect to items B, 4 and 5 only.
Right.
The D, yeah, it's just a further clarification.
Okay. I would just suggest this get more widely publicized. I think there's a lot of us, tell me if I'm wrong, there's a lot of us who have burn piles and burn, and I see it frequently. This is making criminals out of a lot of West Vincent residents. I'd suggest that you publicize this pretty strongly.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Two things on, going back to section B, he just referred to, it should also, I believe it should also include construction material in that section. It says, tires, hazardous material, plastic materials, non-toxic fumes or gases. It should probably also include construction material. And a suggestion for E, for Jeff's comment in regards to the police department or the zoning officer, you could also allow the local fire marshal, who is the fire chief for that given area. Okay?
Thank you.
Anyone else?
So
If there's nothing else, we can close the hearing. Consider it closed. Board's pleasure.
shall we wait for the updates or?
If you'd like to update
I
it
think there were
based
some good
upon
points made. and-
comments, we can update it and bring it before the board at the next meeting.
Great.
Great.
Agree, Jim?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
I would agree. All right, so we're going to move on then.
Mhm.
We're going to continue. I think we have the next item as well.
Next one is ordinance
2/15/2025.
2/15/2025, to establish stop signs on Kennard Way, east at Veronica Drive, and Veronica Drive east at South Chester Springs Road. Does anyone here have any comments about this ordinance?
Thank you. My name is Stephanie Lindquist. I live at Three Kings Farm, which is a farm that's bifurcated by Veronica Drive. This ordinance was precipitated by a decision by the township manager to remove an emergency gate that crossed at this particular intersection and that was protected by an easement, an emergency access easement under law and according to the public offering documents and the development plan that I believe was approved by this board. In 2005, the public offering statement for Fox Hollow Farms at that time, dated in December, was made available to purchasers of homes in Fox Hollow Farms. There's about 16 to 20 homes in that community. And again, you reach the community through my farm, which is a heck of a lot older than the bridge we just celebrated, built by 3 veterans of the War of 1812. It is a working farm with sheep and goats and chickens and pigs, orchards, and a Christmas tree farm, and therefore additional traffic traveling through the farm is detrimental to the farm and of course is also detrimental to the community, because when they purchased their home in Fox Hollow Farm, they were presented with a public offering statement, again, that was filed pursuant to the Pennsylvania Uniform Plan Community Act, and which is very specific. It says that the development plans are recorded or are to be recorded, and that they set forth additional easements affecting the community. This is on page 12. Number 3 of those additional easements includes an emergency access easement located along the boundary line between Lot 5 and Lot 6 along Kennard Way. I believe that refers to the particular intersection that led to where the gate previously was positioned. So substantively speaking, what we're talking about are property rights, a change to the nature of the ownership of the lots, and of course, a change to the nature of my farm in terms of additional traffic traveling through the farm, which would come from the Buyer Station community. And as you know, there are thousands of homes in the Buyer Stations community. Traveling through Veronica Drive would lead to Chester Springs Road, and that is a heavily used road for walkers and is already under pressure because of potential development on the Bennett Farm property as well. And so we're interested in ensuring that the property rights that were initially documented both on the development plan and in the offering statement are protected. And that includes replacing that gate that previously existed at this intersection. So substantively speaking, we think we have a legal right, and of course, a solicitor would be in a position to opine about this, but we think we have a documentation and the legal materials that were prepared at the time that the development was developed, that the owners of those houses bought those houses with the expectation that that would be an emergency access easement only and not open as a throughway to Buyer Station Road. And of course, once the folks over in Buyer Station figure out that they can simply take a shortcut to 401 in Ludwig's Corner that way, they'll start doing it. And they may already have begun to do so. So that's a substantive issue. The procedural issue has to do with how this particular decision was made and actually implemented. Unfortunately, there was no conversation with the community about the removal of the gate. The gate has been from time to time a matter of, there has been some changes to the way the gate is actually closed and locked. So for a long time, the gate was locked by, as I understand it, an actual sort of key lock, but that eventually to ensure that the police and the fire would have easy access into the Buyer Station Road, if for any reason they needed to use the Veronica Drive access route, they were provided with a keypad entry and thus easy access into and through that gate. So procedurally what happened was, unfortunately, the neighborhood was not notified of the change and woke up one morning to discover that the gate had been removed. And there had been no discussion before this board about this change, which I think is procedurally problematic, given the fact, one, that property rights are involved. And certainly due process is required when property rights are affected by any board, and that includes this board or this township manager. And he, of course, may not be aware of the norms and expectations of our community being a new township manager. But to be sure, the members of that community and the owner of the farm that is significantly affected by this change would have expected some due process and conversation with the homeowners, given that their property rights were directly affected. So what we're here to complain about is not the stop sign. I could care less about the stop sign. Put the stop sign up. The concern is what precipitated the need for the stop sign. And so we are here to express our concern both about the violation of our property rights as documented in both the development plan and this public offering statement, and as well as the due process concerns we have about the decision to make this change without a discussion of the community involved. Thank you.
Anyone else have any comments about the ordinance that establishes the stop sign?
Hi, good evening. Katie Wetmore. I'm at 2558 Veronica Drive. Kind of tagging on to Stephanie, I guess the questions are, one, why this was done in the first place, what precipitated it. The gate had been there for over 10 years. Also, the fact that it was done in the wee hours of the morning. I had kids walking down to the bus who assumed that road was closed and it was wide open. And I had kids walking down to the bus. So that was certainly unsafe for them at that time. So those are the questions. I think a number of us did email the board on April 25th about it, and we were all told we would have a follow-up, and none of us have received a follow-up since then. So those are our questions. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else have any comments about the ordinance?
My name's Rosie Filling. I'm at 2555 Veronica Drive. I am lot 5. I think our issue is, just to reiterate, this was done before light hours. It was done in the middle of the night. People came onto our property, never telling us. There is a stop sign post in our yard, which affected our yard. It's still there with no guard around it. If somebody trips on that in our yard, it puts us at risk as well. I think the main thing, again, is there was zero communication. When we called Tommy Ryan, I was informed that this is something that has been wanted to be done by this township for many years. And unfortunately, the previous managers couldn't get it done. That was the exact response to me.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Good evening, Christine Whaley, 2546 Veronica Drive. I'm one of those people who did send a note to you all upon this occurring and was probably one of the first people to notice it was gone since my husband and I were out walking our dog and noticed it. And every morning we do see the children from our community and other communities over on Powell Drive walking to the bus stop. These kids were not aware that that gate was no longer there. And thank heavens, no one was injured. So it was irresponsible to approach it this way, let alone not following due process, as Stephanie so eloquently discussed. When I called and spoke to Mr. Ryan regarding it, the response is not what I would have expected of not only a new township employee, but also someone who does not even live in our township or know the ways of our township. So I'm one of the first people who bought a home in that development before Buyer Station had been built out. It was dirt. And we have seen many iterations of that gate. And we found the right configuration to help our emergency colleagues. The one thing that I would say is that this has come up at other times, some gates, and specifically around the traffic that would flow onto South Chester Springs Road. In October of 2017, you can go back to the township minutes on this, there was a large discussion as to whether or not there should be an opening of the gate that at the time was at Eagle Farms Road and South Chester Springs Road. I see Bernie nodding. I think you were there when we were having these conversations. And what was done at that time is there were many traffic studies done, not only on South Chester Springs Road, but then also looking at the four-way stop at 401. Because the concern was not only do we have walkers, but we have people walking their dogs. We have people on horseback on this road. And what were we doing to the the quintessential country-like of our township. And we looked at the volume that potentially would come from Eagle Farms Road, as well as from 401 as people cut through. At the time, I spoke at the meeting, and my question was, are you also going to open up the gate between Fox Hollow Farms and Byers Station, so on Kennard Road? And the uniform response by all three township supervisors was, no, that will never happen. Because as we see from the traffic studies, South Chester Springs Road cannot take that volume, and it becomes a public safety issue. So we were dismayed to see this happen so quickly, because much of this conversation could have occurred in a much less adversarial way. The other thing I would mention is on this ordinance, you have 2 stop signs listed. There already is a stop sign at Veronica Drive and South Chester Springs Road. It's already there. So I'm a little confused as to why now we have an ordinance for a stop sign that's been there for years.
It has to do with whether there's ever an ordinance that adopted it.
Well, but then I will go back to a conversation I had when I said, if you're going to remove the gate, why in heaven's name would you not have put a stop sign up before you did that? So that we didn't have to worry for cars coming down Veronica Drive that someone was going to T-bone us. And I was told that the rule is that there needs to be 30 days and then an ordinance to protect the legal rights of the township from getting sued if for some reason somebody was rear-ended at that stop sign without a long enough due course of notice. Well, apparently we didn't have to do that for the stop sign that was at Veronica Drive in South Chester Springs, because it's been there forever. So then if it was so important to remove that gate, and again, I think we've put into question as to why it was important, why would you not put up your safety concerns first before removing a gate and potentially putting your township residents' lives at risk? That's really all I have to say. I've lived in this township since 2007, and I've never seen a disregard for the community members as I have seen in this case. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else want to comment on the ordinance? All right, seeing none, I recommend you close the hearing. And with that, motion to adopt. This ordinance is only about putting the stop sign up.
Right.
Yep. I make motion to adopt ordinance 215-2025 to establish stop signs at the said intersections of Kennard Way and Veronica and South Chester Springs Road.
I'll second.
Please, we take more questions, certainly.
Katie Whitmore again. I don't have a necessary question, but I guess it is, what is the board's response to hearing from us? Since you heard from a member of us via email, now you actually have us in person vocalizing our thoughts regarding this. And I think us coming here tonight would appreciate a response on this, not just regarding a stop sign.
Let me speak for the board. The matter before the board tonight is a stop sign. And that's what the board is going to vote on first. Go to motion second and call for a vote.
Okay, it looks like we have another.
So you have, my name's Craig Kirkoska, 1684 Cedar Mill Road. You have 4 questions here from 4 concerned citizens. And the stop sign pertains to the gate, from my understanding. So you're going to vote to put the stop sign in, but you haven't even given clarification of why the gate was removed in the middle of the night. If it was my property, I would have called the cops. So I think that the citizens do deserve an explanation. I don't think you just blow it off. You're going to pass the ordinance on the stop sign without an explanation on the gate.
No one said.
Because they seem to go together.
No one said anything was being blown off. The matter before the board.
Let's bring up the 4 people that just were up here and ask them what they think you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you. The matter before the board is the ordinance.
Sure. And I just want to mention about the middle of the night, that's when our road crew starts. So that is the beginning of their morning.
I understand the Robert's Rules of Order issue that we're dealing with here. The matter before the board is a motion to adopt an ordinance regarding the stop sign. But I would urge the board to delay that decision because if the gate is replaced and you make a decision regarding the replacement of the gate, which I think is the appropriate and just decision to make, then there is no need for a stop sign at that spot. And therefore, I would recommend that the board table this motion at the moment and reconsider it once you've had an opportunity and it is on the agenda. And exactly how you bring things on the agenda for this particular issue, I think it has to be decided by some kind of motion. I'm happy to make a motion that the board, and I'm sure we can get a second somewhere, and you all have to make your own motion.
Yeah.
Oh, that's your prerogative, that's fine. But so I don't understand the rules.
Go back to date too is the stop sign that's existing cannot be enforced currently because it was never properly
Correct.
Right.
put into play. Like that's what we're doing right now. So that has to be done.
This is at the intersection of
to be legitimized. Like right now, no one could enforce someone going through that stop sign. That should have been done a long time ago.
Yeah.
We're trying to correct a wrong there.
That is the intersection of Veronica and Chester Springs Road. Is that what you're talking about? That's fine. I don't think any of us have any objection to that. I think the concern is that we're laying the groundwork for the gate to remain permanently removed. And we prefer that if the ordinance is adopted, then it could be adopted without the inclusion of the stop sign. This is obviously a very trivial point, but I think important for the sake of the kind of discussion we should have about this gate. Also, I don't know if you all take documents and evidence or anything like that. I understand this, you act as a judicial, sort of in a judicial capacity. I'm happy to enter these 2 pages from the public offering statement into evidence if you'd be interested.
We'll take that from you separate.
That's fine.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I guess back to what time does the work crews start? Because they came and it was on lot 5, which is right next to where it happened. We were never informed, so should I have called the police? My dogs were up barking throughout. I'm just asking what time in the township are they allowed to begin taking down? That's heavy. That's noise. What time are they permitted to begin that in the township?
I don't know what time exactly. I know
It
it's
was
very early.
about 6:30.
It wasn't 6:30
That's not what I'm
because
saying.
it was way before 6:30. Because we had walkers, we were notified, so it happened before 6:30.
I don't know anything about when it happened. I just.
Well,
was making a comment
it's
that-
happened right
that
next
they
to my
did
property.
Start way before
I was not told there was equipment put on my property that I was not informed of. I mean, if you don't, what time are they allowed to start working? And shouldn't I have been told? I'm just asking the question. Can we not get answers? Are we not going to get answers?
It's in the right of way.
They came onto my grass, on my property. I have pictures. I have my phone. I can give you all the pictures.
Township right away.
I understand that, but also I never thought this township is one to not communicate with its residents. This is the first time I've ever had to come to a meeting like this because I've never heard anything about this township not talking to their residents when they want to do something like this. Our children were walking to the bus stop down the middle of that street. My husband thankfully works from home and saw the cars flying up the road. Do we not see an issue? I'm just asking for answers.
I think that's what the stop sign is going to be.
No, that stop sign, you're talking about the stop sign at the other,
Talk about stop sign here. It's 2 places for stop.
okay, but the stop sign, again, that means the gate's permanently down. That's not what we're trying to get.
It doesn't mean that. It means right now there needs to be a stop sign there.
But don't you think you should have done that? Or at least if you weren't, why wouldn't you not inform the community so we could educate our children on how to walk to the bus stop?
We're not going to get into that debate now. Done is done. There's a need for a stop sign. And the board is here tonight to vote on the stop sign.
So what's done is done. Is this how our township, our board?
No.
We all sent emails. We were told that you would get back to us. Not one of us received an email back.
I believe I told everyone that I was not able to respond to this and someone else had to, because
Yeah.
my understanding, someone will be getting back to you, but my understanding was that it was threatened to press charges regarding this and we were.
Well, because
to discuss it
does
any
anyone
longer.
understand that our children were put at risk?
We understand
We
this.
do
That's
now.
why they're trying to adopt a stop sign tonight, which is what's on.
Well, the
agenda.
stop sign should have been put in place when this happened.
It'll be there tomorrow, I suppose,
Yeah, on my property now.
in the right of way. In the right of way.
Okay.
Enough.
What'd you say?
Said enough.
I'm asking you a question.
What question?
The question is, why was the gate removed in the first place? I think that they at least are due
We're
that
not here
answer.
to discuss the gate being removed. What's on the agenda tonight is the adoption of an ordinance to establish a stop sign.
I know, but you
Gate is
could
that issue.
appease the residents and answer the question because they pay your salary.
Can we bring this up in public comment at the end so we can
We,
get through
we
the
will address the
business?
gate at another time. We can do it later tonight.
Well, Jamie McVicker. I've expressed before to the board that the board sometimes seems to pay more attention to their lawyer than to the residents.
Excuse me, he is running this.
Excuse me, I'm
part of-
going to finish my comment.
No, but I.
So this is another example of where somebody is running a meeting, but isn't explaining to us what the process is, where clearly there are concerns. And you're saying enough, which is extremely rude and disrespectful. You need to explain to us why, regardless, it's not up to him to say enough. If we have a chance to comment, which you've given us, let us speak without saying enough.
The matter before the board is the ordinance for a stop sign.
I understand that, but what you're not explaining to us is the process here. Why are you saying you're trying to pass something, asking for comment, saying, well, we don't care about your comments. We're going to pass this. You can comment on it later. So could you explain to us why you're asking for comments, but saying you can't comment?
The comments need to be about the ordinance. Now, the board listened to the comments everyone has that lives in that neighborhood about the gate. That's fine, but the ordinance is what's being decided by the board tonight to establish a stop sign. That's all that's before the board right now. That doesn't mean the board's not going to address the other concerns and the other questions they have. But the matter that's on the agenda right now is a stop sign or two stop sign in that neighborhood. And that's what the board has on their agenda.
We can pick this up again. Okay,
Hi, my name is Tom Farrow. I live at 2551. I fail to see any logical separation between a discussion of the stop sign and a discussion of the gate. You have created a very convenient rule that they're two different issues. I think I've heard from people that this is one and the same issue. An ordinance about a stop sign must require an explanation of why the gate was removed and whether or not putting the gate back would be a better solution than the stop sign. Thank you.
I suggest the board call for a vote.
okay, all right. Okay, well, we already had it seconded and I would say all in favor.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. We can definitely revisit this later. And next up is resolution 10, 2025. We need a motion to adopt the resolution to grant final subdivision plan approval for 1414 Birchwood Road.
Make a motion to adopt resolution 10, 2025 to grant final subdivision plan approval for 1414 Birchwood Road LLC and a lot line change at Birchwood Road.
I'll second that motion.
Does anyone have any questions regarding this motion? Being none, all in favor?
Aye.
And then we also have a motion here to adopt resolution 11, 2025 regarding the Board of Geographic Names for the United States Geological Survey to approve the name Anna's Run as the official name for an unnamed tributary to the Beaver Run.
So moved.
I'll second that.
Does anyone have any questions on this? Any comments, Isabel? No. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion approved. Resolution 12, 2025. Oh, I'm sorry. Did you want to? No. Oh, no, you're just thinking, okay. It's a long time coming. That's been a couple years now. We've been trying to get that name down as right. Good luck. Resolution 1225 is regarding submission of a grant application for a local share account grant program. I believe this is for the truck. Would anyone like to?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, so anyone have any questions on this? Do we have more information on what this grant is for?
This application was submitted last year. We just need a completed resolution. So it's to purchase a public police department vehicle.
Seeing no questions, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Four-way stop warrant, and this is to authorize a study at Schoolhouse Lane and Flowing Springs Road. Would anyone like to make a motion on that?
So moved.
Second.
Anyone have questions on this? March?
Assume this is an anticipation of the off-site parking from the butterscotch pastry.
No, it has nothing to do.
No,
with
this
that.
has been
So this is
discussed for quite some time.
totally coincidental.
No, it has nothing to do.
Would
with
help.
Okay, you know that there was about 10 years ago, probably a little longer, that there was a study at that intersection when the schoolhouse was.
Was
gonna
it a
be
four-way?
developed.
For a four-way stop sign?
Yeah.
Yeah, and just to clarify, I'd be authorized to contact PennDOT to request that PennDOT conduct the analysis. And it should be done every few years if the answer is no.
And the concern is traffic coming down Flowing Springs Road?
Correct.
Yeah.
So
The site
not
lines
generally
there are
traffic in the area, because I would say if you take a more holistic approach to what's going on in the Bertramville area, there's another stop sign on the other end of Schoolhouse Lane that is a stop for turn only. And what happens is people come around, there's a bend coming down into Bertramville, and they come in there at about 45, 50 miles an hour. And it's right at the bottom of the hill where the parking lot is now. And I mean, I've almost been clipped coming out of my driveway a couple times. And if you're doing a study, you might want to look at the possibility of making that a stop and not a stop on turn only. Do you know where I'm talking about?
Is this at the intersection of Hollow?
Hollow and Schoolhouse, so it's the opposite end of Schoolhouse.
Yeah, I looked at it today.
And this is something that's been discussed repeatedly for a while now in traffic safety as well. And I know Barney has brought it up.
The only other comment I have is if that stop sign is in place in bad weather, I think it gives people on Schoolhouse Lane a false sense of security, or that somebody's going to be able to stop at the stop sign coming down the hill. I'm not sure how to handle that. I don't know if you do it.
And that's where the idea of the three-way stop, they said no to that, right?
Right.
Yeah, said no to.
Yeah, I don't know about threat. I think people need to assume that someone's not going to be able to stop, and I don't know how you enforce that with a stop sign, but. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Julia?
Hi, Julia Brandel. I think in the discussions about that stop sign and that intersection in general, have we totally thrown out the idea of putting a mirror there so the people sitting on Schoolhouse Lane can see if people are coming down Flowing Springs Road?
I believe that it was already tried and proved to be ineffective.
Proved to be ineffective?
Yeah.
When was that?
Because of where the actual placement is, it still doesn't give you.
Wait, did we try it or they looked at doing it? Because I don't remember ever seeing a mirror there.
Present, so I can't answer that.
Yeah, there was a lot of talk about how it could be done, but I wasn't fully engaged in that. That was a long time ago.
Because
You
yeah,
mean-
well,
You mean instead of a four-way stop?
having a mirror. So what happens is if you're sitting on Schoolhouse Lane, you try to look to the right up Flowing Springs Road, the sight line's terrible. You can't see if anybody's coming down the road. So when people are coming down the road, they're, especially people that don't live in the area, they're not thinking that there might be somebody pulling out of Schoolhouse Lane right in front of them because they can't see them. So there's a couple of things going on. There's a curve in the road. They're coming down the hill from it's definitely a bend. The house that sits right there on the road has a hedge in the front yard that is also blocking that sight line as well. So I know that people have asked about a mirror, and I know that a mirror has not been put up just to try and see if it works. I can tell you that.
Some information on that, I think.
Okay, because
How he was involved.
the reality is coming down the hill, unless people know way ahead of time with sign after sign after sign that there's a stop ahead, they're going to blow right through that stop sign because they're not going to see it until they're right on top of it. And you don't want to necessarily stop people coming up the hill, especially in the wintertime, because they need the momentum to get up the hill right there. If they have to stop, they're never getting through that intersection.
That was the reason for the three-way. We were denied that, so this is the next step forward.
Now, if they're doing a study for the four-way, would that be part of the study that they would say, oh, it needs an additional sign, stop ahead?
I don't know what was on it.
There
Is
are,
that a potential?
they would recommend additional signage as needed.
Okay.
Strips.
So let us know. Rumble strips.
Rumble strips.
Everyone who lives by them loves them. Yeah.
Ken Allen. To answer your question, Julia, and this is pertaining to the Traffic Safety Committee. And I guess I should preface by saying that the committee has been looking at various areas within the community here that are quote unquote safety zones of concern. First and foremost, with Traffic Safety Committee, that's the one. I mean, the whole entire village where you mentioned, coming back with the four-way intersection there, et cetera. But to answer your question with it, we mandated the committee to go a couple months ago to look to see if a mirror could be put into place there. And what was determined by the committee, and especially an engineer who was part of our committee, a traffic engineer, he determined that, when you look at that intersection and you're on Schoolhouse Lane and you've got the park right behind you and you're facing towards Flowing Springs Road, your eye is going to look at the traffic pole that's right in front of you and say, oh, there should be a mirror there. But there shouldn't, because what we determine is the line of sight as you go uphill there. And I know I'm doing a lot of this and that's not really going to help you, but we determined that when you look uphill there, you're not going to get a good clear line of sight that comes down Flowing Springs Road into the village. There could be a mirror. Unfortunately, where a mirror placement could occur would be the Krug property across from where their house is. They also own the property there. And unless they are approached to say, hey, could you put a traffic mirror on your property? And maybe someone could, but we don't know that. And it is private property. So just using what we've got from a public sense, no mirror can go there, unfortunately. So it has been looked at and determined, at least for now. But I will also say that we're going to be talking more. Hopefully, I did ask Tommy for some time in the June meeting to talk about things like this, traffic safety wise, because we've not given an update since we were initiated a year and a half ago, and just to alleviate concerns or hear some concerns as well. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Or anyone else has a comment on this before we vote? Okay, I think a study is a good idea, so we can figure out some of these issues that we just talked about. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. And next up, we want to appoint a new deputy zoning officer. Would someone like to read that?
I make a motion to appoint Jason Barron as deputy zoning officer.
I'll second that.
Anyone have any questions? Comments? No. All in favor?
Aye.
Human Relations Commission, this was something that we needed to establish how often they were going to meet because it was not in their the addendum to the ordinance.
And I just wanted to, Tom, do you have any more, I know you've been to their meetings, do you have any information from what they would like to have?
So the ordinance that was adopted by the board the other month required board approval if the HRC wishes to meet to discuss three things: education, outreach, and or training. They met as a reorientation meeting and decided that they would like to meet to discuss those three things on a quarterly basis, and they've asked the board to approve that schedule.
Make a motion to do that.
I'll make a motion to approve the Human Relations Commission meeting on a quarterly basis to discuss, provide education, outreach, and training.
I'll second that.
Any questions from the audience? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. We need to ratify expenditure approvals. I guess I can list all of these if that would be helpful.
Yep.
Okay, a motion to ratify employee payroll dated May 19th for the pay period May 4 to May 17th. General fund list of bills dated April 21 to May 15 as presented. Open space reserve fund list of bills dated April 21 to May 15 as presented. Capital road fund list of bills dated April 21 to May 15 as presented. Capital project reserve fund list of bills dated April 21 to May 15 as presented. And escrow fund list of bills dated April 21 to May 15 as presented.
So moved.
I'll second that, and I'll indicate that the total of all those, except for payroll, is $281,222.28.
Any questions, comments on that? Rich?
Not a question, but comment. The memo field is really descriptive and it's really good. It's probably the best I've seen it in the last year. The bad is it's still truncated in a few places. It'd be great if we could actually find a way to expand it. There's still a lot of empty white space on the page. I don't know if that's possible through the formatting, but it's really good though. I mean, having invoices expanded out, especially for legal and engineering, is really helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? None, all in favor? Aye. Okay, we're going to move on to, do we have any new business on the floor? Any old business? So I guess that brings us to public comment. If we would like to revisit these comments we had earlier, if anyone has something new, please come on up. This is for non-agenda items.
Hi there, Julia Brandell, something new. I have a question. So on Flowing Springs Road, which I know is a PennDOT road, especially, what is it, east of Beaver Hill, between Beaver Hill and St. Matthews Road, Asplund has taken a bunch of trees down and dumped them on the side of the road. I believe they leave them on the side of the road because they're property of the homeowner. However, they're literally in the shoulder on the side of the road. Somebody put an orange cone so that you don't crash into them. When you're driving on that road, if two trucks are trying to pass at the same time and somebody is off by a hair, they're going to be running over the logs on the side of the road. Whose responsibility is it to get those off the side of the road? What? It's between Beaver Hill and Flowing Springs Road, specifically on the property where they built that big, beautiful house. No. Oh, between on Flowing Springs, between Beaver Hill and St. Matthews Road, where they just built that big house on that Brincoed lot. They're all of their trees that were taken down, and then, I guess maybe they try to get them up on the bank and then they roll down into the road, but they're all right there on the shoulder in the road.
They were there from day one where they're sitting. They didn't roll down.
Okay, so Asplund just dumped them on the side of the road. Okay, whose responsibility is to get them out of the road?
So we'll call across the road. Most of theirs are clear.
Mm-hmm. Right, I know that. I'm saying, but what are we doing to get the other ones cleaned up?
The other ones,
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're correct. In the second-class township code for material that is in the right of way, greater than 6-inch caliber, the wood belongs to the property owner, even though it's in the right of way.
Right.
That's why it's left there. The contractor you mentioned is the contractor for Pico, and we'll call our government affairs representative for Pico tomorrow and let them know that this has to be addressed.
Yeah, I mean, there's some other places. That's just the one where it's really bad.
If you send me the locations, we'll.
Okay, well, I sent it to Jason a long time ago, and he talked to somebody. I'm not sure, but I'll send it to you. I'll send it directly to you.
Thank you.
Jason did send an email to the homeowner. And basically the guy was out of town, vacation or whatever. He said he would take care of it when he got back. That's been a month.
It's been over a month. Yeah. Okay. I'll send an email to Tommy tomorrow. Okay.
Anyone else have any comments?
I realize we've discussed the intersection issue quite thoroughly, but I am interested in understanding what the procedural mechanism is to ensure that a decision is rendered by this board regarding the gate. And how is that, in what procedural posture will we place this question before the board? There's no, as I understand it, there's no amendment to the ordinance at issue, as I understand it. But given the fact that there are property rights at issue that are documented in the original documentation for the development, it seems to me that an ordinance may be necessary. So I'm posing to you the question of exactly how do we get this on your decision-making agenda? Because I think this board should be accountable for the decision that affected our property rights. Thank you.
We'd like to have you give us all of the information that you have available to you about that gate. Tommy is new to the township. I've only been solicitor for a year. We don't know what's happened in the past. We understand that there is a history. And so whatever documents you have that'll shed light on this, we welcome so that we can look at what you have as far as the decisions that were made in the past about whether the gate is to stay or to go. So whatever you have.
That's great. I've been drafting a timeline and also filing the documents for you in the house.
So as soon as you get that to Tommy, we'll get it to me, we'll take a look at it. And then we'll reach out to the community to advise you what we understand to be the situation. Okay?
Yeah, that's right.
So this is for commenting on non-agenda items, but that was on the agenda. So are we allowed to talk about it?
It actually wasn't on the agenda. The stop signs were.
Well, I think that answer sort of speaks to the feeling that you hopefully heard tonight, which is that the board isn't validating the concerns of the residents. And I want to give you this chance. You heard a lot of complaints. I'd like the board to speak to or validate the concerns that were raised. Please. Without the lawyer's consent.
I'm not sure what you're asking for, other than the board understands the issue.
I'd like to hear from the board, please.
They can ask their lawyer to speak for them if they like. The board understands the issue, and we're asking for information. And Mr. Ryan had conversations with some of the residents who said they had documents, and we're waiting to see those documents. We have certain documents at the township, but we want to make sure we have everything that's out there. And there may be some things, some documents that we don't have. But when we have that, then we can analyze the situation there, find out what was promised, what wasn't promised.
And Jamie, I don't believe that the board has all the information at this time. I will say that, you know, I realize that we have to be careful with this because there is pending legal action on this, as for some people who are not happy about it. So
That's what we needed to hear. Thank you. Look, you guys know both personally and politically and professionally, I'm with you guys. But when I hear people complaining and you guys turning to a lawyer, it doesn't come across well. And
That's what he's here for. That's why we pay him to be here to keep our back and to keep the township safe.
Well, you
And
needed
this
to
came
say.
out of a safety issue that was presented, and I can't really say anything more than that. That's
You-
all I can say.
That's what you needed to say. You also, we're not legal people. We don't understand. I'm a Quaker. We don't know Robert's rules. We don't know how these things work. So what I was confused by was you're saying we're only here about the stop sign, but people are saying this other stuff. I don't know how that stuff works. And I'm guessing that a lot of people here don't. So it would have helped to just say, look, this is about the stop sign first. We can talk about your other concerns later.
I tried to say that.
Okay.
Maybe it didn't come out right, but that's what I tried.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm sorry if I didn't.
I didn't hear it because he said it's at least twice.
Oh, well, yeah, you said it when I came up here and brought it up again, then you said it, but I did, if you said that in the beginning, I'm sorry that I missed it.
I think it's difficult for us to hear any of our residents upset and, no one wants that. We would like everyone to be happy on all sides, but we do have a duty to safety as well. So all I can say is there's not much we can add, but we can definitely be absorbing some information. This was never voted on in the public as a decision to do anything one way or the other.
That's very helpful. Thank you. Thank you all, even the solicitor. Thank you. To my first concern, I raised about the change in the fire code. Will that be publicized? Is there a way that can get out that suddenly we're not allowed to do more than a 3-foot diameter fire? Like how will we be notified besides people reading the minutes later on? Seems like a pretty dramatic change.
Yeah, with any ordinance, we post it to the website and distribute it to the planning commission. So it's been on the website for about a month.
Okay.
And both the
it's been advertised.
It's been advertised. Yes,
Well-
there's 2 legal advertisements that run and we post it on our website.
And I will say that for several months now, it's been a topic that's been questioned of the EAC Sustainability Committee and the Planning Commission to discuss because of the issue of the 904 recycling grant. That's where it came from. And we realized that we were deficient in this. And so we've tried to gather information from those other committees.
Okay. I'd suggest you put it in the next newsletter, which probably isn't for a while now since one just came out, but I think it's an important thing. Because I honestly, as I said, we have a burn pile. I was ready to start it. But now I need to dramatically change the way I do it.
You have to invite some people and a marshmallow as well.
The minutes, Tommy, are you doing the minutes now instead of Christina?
I am.
So the last minutes from the 21st, not the 31st, you listed people who commented during public comment, but you didn't say what their comments were about. And I wonder what your philosophy on that is, not just on the public comment, but comments on the agenda items.
Yeah, so I follow the state guidelines of the Sunshine Act and include in the meeting minutes that required by state law. And with regards to public comment, the law says the name of the person officially appearing before the governing body and the topic of their comment.
But it doesn't restrict you from saying more than that.
No, it doesn't.
So I would like to see what the people's comments were about. What's your own personal feeling about that?
That's why we videotape.
But why can't you put it in the minutes? Why can't you summarize?
I follow the state guidelines to do it. And
Well,
if I can be
you're following the
frank,
minimum guidelines.
if I can be frank, meeting minutes are inside baseball. Just a moment ago, you noted that you weren't aware that there was an ordinance posted to our website for the last month. That's where the meeting minutes are posted. I don't think anybody reads meeting minutes. It's more important that if you have video technology, you make the video recordings available to the public.
I'm not so much concerned with whether people read them, and I think probably more people read than you know, but for the record, for historical purposes, I think it's important to see what people's concerns were in writing more so than, nobody's going to watch an hour and a half long videotape to see what the public comments were. They're more likely to look at a piece of paper that are posted on the website.
Yeah. Understood.
Well, that's my preference. Lastly, the financials, the profit and loss, without context, these numbers don't mean anything. Will there be a point where they show a comparison to a total for the year to date comparison to last year in comparison to the budget?
Yes.
That will happen.
Comparison to where we thought we'd be this year's budget and relative to last year.
Great.
Yep.
Thank you.
Katie Whitmore again on Veronica Drive. If we can ask questions, the question still remains of why the gate was removed. And also a point to Dana, as you just said, obviously one of the main objectives of the board is to keep their residents and townships safe. As a resident of Veronica Drive for over 10 years, I felt safe sending my kids off to the bus with the gate there. I do not feel safe now. So, and again, question is, why was the gate removed in the first place if it was never discussed here in the board meeting and the board wasn't a discussion amongst the board? Thank you.
Anyone else that has any questions? I don't know that.
Are you gonna answer the question?
I really can't answer that question too. I mean, to answer that question, where the comments came from, I mean, there were some issues from emergency.
This is Tom Farrell, 2551 Veronica Drive. I heard before that you understand the issue. You do not understand the issue if you don't answer the question. The issue is about the gate, but much more importantly than that, it's about the complete lack of disclosure and failure to follow full disclosure and transparency processes. So if you don't understand that, you don't understand the issue.
So also when I called Tommy Ryan asking, I guess I'm trying to understand who requested the gate to be taken down, because we have representatives from our fire department here. I was told it was the fire department and the police department. Can we ask the fire department right now because that's what I was told.
Fair to put them on the spot.
Well, I mean, some people are speaking, but
These folks that are.
no, but I'm just saying people are speaking for other people. So I think we deserve at least to know who made the decision to take down the gate. Why can't we be told that? It's a simple question. I mean, was it Tommy that made the decision? Because we were told it was the fire. We were told the police. We were told all these people got together. We emailed the board. You guys didn't know about it. So who made the decision to take down the gate? It's a simple.
Excuse me, I will, as the chairman of the board, I will take responsibility for knowing that it was going to happen. Okay, I will tell you that it was definitely, it bubbled up from several different areas where people felt that there was a concern for EMT, for ambulance, for police, for public works. I will tell you that. I never even knew it was there for all those years.
But we have.
It was brought to our solicitor and our manager to discuss why it's there, what are the issues with it, and the decision was made.
So if you're requesting copies of our files, I'd like copies of all.
There's nothing.
Well, we have files. We can give you all the minutes, everything where this has been discussed for years. How do you not know? Well, how does the township not keep record of something that has been on file?
Previous township manager who was around when all of this happened, and they had a completely different story on this. So, I mean, I've heard a lot of different stories about why it was there. I was told it was put there before the four-way stop, that once the four-way stop was in place, that was supposed to come down. So I don't know. I'm telling you that this was brought.
The township signed the document. They signed the documents.
I was told that our ambulances and our EMT folks have to carry wire cutters because seconds matter and they can't open the gate.
It's not true.
Then that's why we're going to have a discussion about it.
So when's the discussion, and is the community going to be involved in this discussion? As it seems like we're the only ones that have all the records, that the township hasn't maintained everything.
It would be nice if you would share those with us.
Because we would think you would have everything. So if you don't have anything in your files, you have nothing in your files.
Substantiate it why it was there.
Okay.
We want to make sure we have everything you have.
So how about we make sure we have everything you have?
More than welcome to everything we have. Send us a right to know.
Hi, Julia Brandel. Really quickly to get this thing figured out now. Can you put a temporary blockade up there so that people cannot travel through there until they figure out exactly what's going on? Is that something that can be done? And if so, if not, why not?
Stop sign's gonna go.
That's not that. But well, it's hopefully going to make people stop instead of going straight onto Veronica without stopping. But why can't?
Correct? There's a road.
Yeah, but if you look at this document that you should have a copy of, the township signed the document. You signed.
They're going to, okay,
We're not gonna decide.
I agree. So why don't we put it back to the way it was? You can't go back in and put in the cement that you removed at 3 o'clock in the morning. We didn't address that. Don't you have a noise ordinance as well? Don't you have to follow? But anyhow, back to this. Why can't you put a temporary gate up?
We put temporary blockades up all the time for all different reasons.
So the stop sign's going up tomorrow in my yard, which fine, you can have the right of way. That's fine. But I don't understand why you can't also put the temporary gate back up until we make a decision on this.
It's not something the township is interested in doing at this point. Put a stop sign up.
Do you have any comments? No.
Then you provide us the documents to establish that the gate is to remain there. We'll go forward.
Well, that's putting a permanent. I'm asking for a temporary gate to go back because you took something down without talking to us, where we have records that you should still have. It has township signatures on this document. I'm sorry that your township did not maintain records. The gate should never have been taken down. We're asking you to put a temporary gate back up.
I know what your request.
So I'm asking the board to put a temporary gate back up until we can work through this as a community. Your number one core value on your website is communication. There was no communication. I'm asking you to put a temporary gate back up.
We make a motion on this?
No.
Not advertised, we can't do it. We're not allowed to.
On the agenda.
Well, then how do I request a meeting to get it on the thing, to get a temporary gate back up?
I think you just did, right? We could put it on our next meeting. Yeah, can we?
So I have
can
to
we
wait
do
a month?
workshop on this?
I have to wait 30 days to get a temporary gate put back up when you're not following. We have the signed document that you say you don't have a copy of.
Well, Don, see it first.
Can we show him the document?
Yeah.
Public offering.
Yeah.
But I'll send it. Public offering document. No
Yeah,
worries.
review that first.
And also.
Yeah, I don't believe any of the board members or possibly anyone on this, at this table has seen these documents, so it's
So, but
kind of
you
hard
all-
for us to respond to those documents.
So who made the decision then to take down the gate? I'm going back to that. Did you all make the decision to take down the gate? You did not. Who made the
We were
decision?
all
Can
aware
we
that
just,
it's gonna happen.
you were aware. Who made the decision? I've asked how many times. Why can't you just tell us who made the decision? We
One
paid.
person, but like I said.
Okay,
I
it was
did
one
say to
person.
you- I did say,
No, but I'm
no,
asking
no,
the
I said
fire
it was
chief.
not one person this came from, but I did say to you earlier that as the chairperson of the board, I will take responsibility for
I'm
the
not
fact that
asking
it
you
happened.
to take responsibility. I'm asking who made the decision to take down the gate.
Well, I definitely was investigating why it's there and is there a problem with it?
Who made the
Because-
decision on that day to take that gate down without notifying the community? That's all I'm asking. Why can't I get an answer of something so simple? You know who it is. Why can't we just say the name?
Because in his capacity, Tommy did put it together, but I don't want
So
to.
why? Tommy's been in office.
Investigating what we.
Tommy's been in office since March 17th. This gate has been in and been up since 2005, 2007. It has come to this township multiple times. Within 1 month, one of the number one things is to take the gate down in that community and not tell the development. So one person, Tommy made the decision to take down this gate. Is that the answer? Because he told me the firemen. He told me that the firemen and the police, which I would love to email, I would like to know if that's the truth, that they told him to take down the gate. So what's the truth?
I wouldn't say that anyone told anyone to take down the gate, that it was brought up, why is this gate here?
Who
There
brought
are
it up?
issues.
Because it's been,
I would throw anyone under the bus to tell you who came to me and.
but we've been
told me
talking about
that
it since 2007.
But we all did discuss it. 2007, I didn't know anything.
But you
about it.
should keep records. Don't you keep records? The meeting minutes, right? Shouldn't we have
Like I
detailed?
said, I asked for an investigation to see why is the gate there? What is the situation with it? And nothing was found other than it's an impediment to the ambulance, the fire and the police and our public works. That's all I've been told. I know that that road is owned by our township. It is plowed and cared for and paved by the
No,
township.
it's not actually.
No,
We'll take pictures. We'll take pictures.
I mean, we care for the road.
You don't.
If you want it to be a private road, then maybe we should consider.
Ms. Allen, I appreciate that someone may have come to you and said something. What I would say to all of the supervisors is in that case, the best course of action would be honestly to talk to the residents who have probably lived there far longer than you've been a supervisor or potentially even resided in the township yourself. And to ask them, because we do know what's happened, because it's our community, it is our property value. We pay taxes on that property. So I would implore you in the future to please, versus just saying, oh, that seems like a good idea, please find out the reason why it was there in the first place. And you have all the traffic studies that have been done. And since we just learned that the meeting minutes don't actually say what people were said, it's probably isn't, unless I go back and look at tapes, that a group of supervisors who had delved deeply into the traffic on South Chester Springs Road said, no, it would be detrimental to the community and our public safety to open that gate. Now, I will tell you, based on where we are, if the police department feels that it's faster to have that gate open to get to our community, then they're taking 3 times as long to get to us, since they can go straight up St. Matthews and get to our development. And I would even question whether for fire to cut through a heavily populated buyer station would be the quickest way to get to Veronica Drive if needed. So it would have been the prudent thing to do would have been, should this had been brought up to you, to then call a meeting here at the township to have either this be a special meeting or as an agenda item in one of your meetings to have a discussion so you could have gone into that decision-making process with full information. And that did not occur. And instead we had a month-old employee of the township who doesn't live in the township make a decision to do something. So in the vernacular, it was done sort of ass backwards. Like, let's just take it down, but then we'll worry about the safety of our community. It's not the way we do things here. And I've lived here for a long time. And so I would ask that if you want more conversation, we can certainly set up a meeting to do that. I would request that go into, whatever the process is for you all doing that from an agenda item. We will send you what we have, but those documents were signed by Kenneth Miller. So if somebody wants to go to his farm and talk to him, they can.
Talk to him.
Right. And I also appreciate that you may not be bound legally by a decision by other township supervisor board meetings. I appreciate that. But I would think as intelligent adults, perhaps having a conversation with those individuals would have been the right course of action. Thank you.
Do we have anyone else who has a comment? Okay, motion to adjourn. I do want to just one more thing, just mention though, if anyone could stay to help Julia with the chairs, that would be appreciated. Thank you very much. We'll see you all next month, if not sooner.